Across the United States, cities are investing in greener infrastructure. New parks, bike lanes, waterfront promenades, and tree-lined streets promise cleaner air and healthier communities. These projects are often celebrated as signs of urban progress. But in many cases, environmental improvements can also trigger higher housing costs, real estate speculation, and displacement. One of the most well-known examples of this dynamic can be found in New York City, the High Line. The High Line is an elevated park built on a former freight rail line on Manhattan's west side. Originally constructed in the 1930s to transport industrial goods, the rail line eventually fell into disuse. In the early 2000s, local advocates and city planners proposed converting the abandoned structure into a public park. The first section opened in 2009. Today, the High Line attracts millions of visitors every year and is widely considered one of the most innovative urban parks in the world. But the High Line itself is not the problem. The issue is what happens when a new public amenity like this is introduced into a housing market shaped by speculation and real estate investment. As the park gained international attention, developers quickly began investing in nearby real estate. Luxury residential towers, upscale retail spaces, and high-end restaurants soon appeared along the corridor. Housing costs around the park increased dramatically. What had once been a largely industrial district rapidly transformed into one of the most expensive real estate markets in Manhattan. The transformation is also connected to Hudson Yards, the massive development project located directly next to the High Line. Hudson Yards has been described as the largest private real estate development in United States history. The project includes luxury apartments, corporate office towers, high-end retail, and cultural spaces. However, the project has also been controversial. Despite receiving public subsidies and tax incentives, critics argue that Hudson Yards failed to meaningfully include affordable housing and instead prioritized luxury development aimed at wealthy residents and global investors. These changes reflect a broader pattern in New York City. Housing in the city is often treated not just as shelter, but as an investment asset. One example is Billionaires Row along 57th Street, where ultra-luxury towers sell apartments to global elites. Some of these units are rarely occupied, functioning more like financial assets than homes. When housing becomes a speculative investment, it can drive up prices across entire neighborhoods. This makes it increasingly difficult for long-term residents and small businesses to remain. As property values around the High Line increased, many residents and local businesses faced rising rents. Some were eventually forced to relocate. This process is known as environmental gentrification, sometimes called green gentrification. Environmental gentrification occurs when investments in parks, green infrastructure, or environmental improvements raise property values and attract wealthier residents, ultimately displacing lower-income communities. This impact extends beyond housing costs. Displacement can break apart social networks, community institutions, and neighborhood businesses that help sustain local identity. Families forced to move may lose access to schools, healthcare providers, and support systems. Meanwhile, the environmental benefits of redevelopments such as cleaner air, green space, and improved infrastructure often become concentrated among wealthier newcomers. These issues are now part of ongoing political debates about housing in New York City. Some policymakers and candidates, including Mayor Zoran Mandami, have proposed stronger housing protections, such as expanded rent stabilization, social housing, and publicly subsidized housing that is both affordable and well-maintained. These proposals reflect a growing recognition that market-driven housing development alone cannot solve the city's housing crisis. But this raises an important question. What policies can actually prevent displacement while still allowing cities to invest in green infrastructure? Should cities expand rent control? Should governments build more high-quality subsidized housing? Or should regulations change so that housing is treated less as a financial investment and more as a basic human need? The High Line therefore raises broader questions about sustainability and justice in urban development. Cities across the world are investing heavily in climate adaptation and green infrastructure. These investments are necessary, but if they are not paired with housing protections, they can unintentionally accelerate inequality. Environmental improvements should not come at the cost of forcing communities out of the neighborhoods they helped build. The Highline shows that creating greener cities is not only an environmental challenge, it is also a social and political one. True environmental justice means that communities can remain in their neighborhoods, participate in redevelopment decisions, and share the benefits of environmental investment. Without those protections, the pursuit of sustainability may continue to produce greener cities that are also more unequal.